Hey, it's John Gallant. Tonight we are going to take a JSON array column, extract those values into a new table, and then cross-reference those values so you can slice and dice either direction. Let's take a look. So we have this data set where we have an ID, we have a name, and we have labels. The labels have an ID and a name as well. What we want to be able to do is filter our data set by these labels. Right now, they're just a JSON array inside of a column. We want to extract those into a new table. So let's see how we do that. All right, so we are in Power BI here. I'm gonna say import data from Excel. I'm gonna grab that Excel. We're gonna grab table 1. We're gonna load it. So we have the columns that we need. And we want to be able to slice and dice by those labels. So when we click PM, it will only show Brady. We click Dev, it will only show John. We click Musician, it'll show both. When we go into transform data, this option here, just click right on transform data. That's going to show you the source. We're going to have table 1 there. Let's rename table 1 to people. Then we're going to change the type here. Right click, go to transform, and then go to JSON. That changed it from a string column into a JSON column. It recognized that it was a JSON array, and it now shows lists there instead of the string. So we could just extract the values here, but the name would be repeated, and I want this data in a new table. So how do you do that? There's many options. With Power BI, there's always another option. There's always another way of doing something. In this approach, what we're going to do is just right click on the people table, and we're going to say reference. Now I like reference instead of duplicate because that's going to give us a reference to all of the steps that happen inside of people. So if we make changes to people in the future, it'll just reference whatever the latest version of people is. If you do duplicate, it's going to duplicate all of those steps into a new query. And so you'll have to change both of them if you need to make any updates to people. So let's just choose reference. That's going to create a new table over here, or a new query. And we're going to right click, and we're going to call this labels. Now, we don't want the name here, but we do want the ID because that will allow us to filter later. So I'm just going to right click there and say remove. So now we have ID and labels. Now you see this little expansion icon right there? Right there, this little expansion icon. You click that, it's going to give you an option to expand to new rows or extract the values. So we want to expand to new rows. Okay, so that created a record for each of the labels. You can see the ID is 1 John, 2 Brady, and the labels are a record. And we need to expand that one step further. So click the expand button again, and it's going to load the column names from that JSON array. We have ID and name. Use original column name as prefix. I usually uncheck that, and I modify the column names later. So let me just click OK. So we have ID.1 and name. So what we're going to do is just rename this to label ID, label name. Okay. So there you have it. And now we have a new table with the labels there. Like I said, there's many ways to do that, but for right now, that's what we're going to do. You could get into the DAX query. You could do, whatever you want. There's many options out there, but this is a super easy way. So we're going to click close and apply. So now that label is shown as a list. So we're just going to remove that from the table. Get that out of there. We have our table here. Now we want to have a filter by label. So we'll go into labels. We're going to click label name. And you'll notice here, when I click PM, it's actually not going to filter. Now what we need to do is go into the relationships model here. So we click the third option down there, which says model, right there. We're gonna click that. And that's gonna show that we have a relationship, but it's not the correct relationship. It doesn't filter both ways. So cross filter direction needs to be changed to both. Click OK. Go back to our report and you'll see now PM is selected, so only Brady appears. I'm gonna uncheck that, check dev, now John appears. Check musician and they'll both appear. All right, so that's it for tonight. I just wanted to show you how to extract values from a JSON array into a new table and then cross filter based on those values. I hope this helps you out and have a good night.